Hi, my name is Kelly Lorraine and welcome to my series, Learning Tarot for Self-Development. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Magician. This is all about manifestation, being clear, concise, and telling the universe exactly what you want and getting it. We're going to talk about the imagery and symbolism that you may see on the card. We're also going to talk about 3 ways you know that you're starting a significant journey in relation to your home, your relationships, and your career. And of course, stick around to the end. We're going to be talking about how all of this relates to your self-development and how to achieve the things that you really desire. In my previous video, we talked about the Fool. This is card number 0 out of 22 major arcana cards. Now, these are the major life events or shifts that are happening in our lives. So today, we're moving to card number 1, which is the Magician and the Individual. I want to remind you of something. You are number 1, and don't you forget it. The individual, meaning you, are responsible for your manifestation and your creativity. In general, the Magician shows us that we have all the tools to achieve everything we could possibly want. We just have to know how to use them. Something important to know is that the Magician is ruled by the planet Mercury. If you're wanting to make an astrological connection, the zodiac signs that are ruled by Mercury are Gemini and Virgo. This is why Geminis and Virgos are known for their communication skills. As a Virgo myself, you probably get that I like to talk, I like to explain things. I also like to learn and communicate what I've learned to all of you. Let's take a look at the Magician himself. He's standing there confidently pointing one hand to the sky and one hand to the ground. This symbolizes the phrase, as above, so below. This means whatever's happening up there in the heavens or in the ethers is also happening down on earth. Another way we could summarize as above, so below is the connection between the spiritual and the physical realms. The second thing you'll notice on the card is the table and the tools. On that table, you're going to find a cup, a pentacle, a sword, and a wand. The cup is going to represent our emotions. The pentacle is going to be our material resources. The sword is going to be our intellect, and the wand is going to be our creativity. The Magician is often seen as the ruler of the minor arcana. Now, earlier I defined the major arcana as the major life events and shifts that we encounter throughout life. The minor arcana are the things that happen on the daily. Another important symbol on the Magician card, it's the infinity symbol. This is all about limitless potential and the flow of energy. Something else you might see on the card is lush, green, garden, and grass energy. This is all about growth, life, and fertility. And the last thing I want to point out is the wand. Now, I know I mentioned it when we talked about the tools on the table, but the wand has a specific significance. It channels divine power and creativity. Let's talk about the 3 ways that you know you're embarking on a significant journey in relation to the Magician. When doing a reading, if the Magician card comes up, it can represent matters of the home. Potentially, this means that a house sale has completed, or you've made a decision to move forward with a plan to renovate your home. Now, I know everybody wants to hear about relationships, so let's see how the Magician relates to a significant journey in your love life. If you're single and want love, the Magician can indicate that it is coming. If you're in a relationship, it can actually mean that there is love in motion. There's action being taken and possibly progression to the next level, even a deeper commitment. It can also indicate that you have great communication between you and your person, and it's only getting better. And the 3rd way that the Magician can be seen as a significant journey, career and money. The Magician card indicates there will be a new beginning. This can mean new employment or a new direction in your career. It can also indicate inspired leadership, which means somebody's going to the next level and potentially modeling that behavior of manifestation and drive to other people. So let's talk about how this impacts your self-development. Just to remind you, the Magician is ruled by Mercury, which is communication and intellect. This means that your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions must be clear and concise. I recognize that this is really hard for people because there's this fear inside of us that says, what if I make a mistake? What if I'm wrong? What if I can't have what I really want? Now, this goes all back to my previous video about the Fool. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you do. I will link it at the end of this video, and I will also put it in the description box below. We need to trust and take a leap of faith. Imagine for a moment that you're sitting on a fence, and you've got one leg over on this side, one leg over on the other side, and you're sitting there right in the middle. Now, I just want to remind you that not making a decision is making a decision. If you're playing both sides of the fence, then ultimately you're going to stay on both sides of the fence. If you are clear and you're communicating your desires. That means you're going to take one leg from this side, pull it over to the other side, and get ready to take that leap of faith, because now you're being clear, concise, and confident that you can achieve your deepest desires. Our words, our thoughts, they hold power. I don't think you realize how powerful you actually are. Why do you think they call it spelling? A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. These are spells. You're manifesting the words that you put out there. Manifestation is not something that you suddenly acquire. We've been manifesting since the day we've been born. Sometimes we just don't even realize it. With this video, I'm inviting you to think more about what you say, what you think, and what you do, and the impact that it has on your day-to-day life and the things that you manifest. Let me give you an example. I was a high school English teacher for 18 years. You might think that I'd be a fan of journaling, but I'm going to give you some reasons why I don't know if journaling is the right thing for everybody. If you're journaling for the purpose of writing down affirmations and positive thoughts and experiences, absolutely, go and write in that journal. If you're going to your journal every day to write down all the things that have hurt you, that you're angry about, or why your coworker's frustrating you, or your mother's getting on your nerves, whatever the topic may be, you've got to be really careful, because what you write down, you're spelling, you're manifesting. Now, I know ultimately that people feel like they need an outlet and that they need to vent to someone or something. However, if you're keeping these journals around you for extended periods of time, as in years, you're keeping that negative energy and that anger around you, which is just reinforcing an old story. In my practice, I've come across people who have kept their journals, multiple journals, for multiple years. They keep them in a crate in their attic or in their basement, and they don't think about the fact that all of this holds a certain vibration of energy. So if around you, you have things that impact your day-to-day life, you may not even realize how much it impacts you. For example, if you've had trouble getting over an old relationship and you have stuffed animals, pictures, souvenirs from trips that you've taken with a person, you've got to be careful of that, because ultimately it can help manifest an old story, negative energy, and stop you from achieving the things that you actually want. If you want new love, new relationships, how can somebody come in if you're not releasing the old energy that's been holding you back? I'll give you a random example from my experience. After my husband and I separated, he sent me, sorry, I don't mean to laugh, he sent me our wedding album. I thought you'd like to have it. Now, I understand it's a nice intention, but I'm thinking to myself, well, why didn't you keep it if it's such a great thing to look at? Now, his response was, maybe you'd like some pictures of your grandparents and your parents. And okay, sure, I get it. But what I did in the end do was take the pictures that I wanted to, that just had my grandparents or my parents, or special moments that were really just me and my family, and everything else I let go of. I did rip them up, I did shred them, and I did throw them out. Now, I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but in my situation, I didn't need his energy living in my home anymore. Now, this might not be plausible for all of you. It depends if you have children together or what the memories are specifically. But for me personally, I didn't think that this was something I needed in my home. Here's another example. Think about your phone storage. If you have old pictures and conversations and memories related to people of your past, whoever that may be, it is stopping you from adding new memories into your phone, because we only have so much space or only so much capacity. How will new memories come in if you filled up your phone with old things, especially things that hurt you? Now, I'm not saying necessarily that you have to go delete everything off your phone. My advice to you would be purge what you need to purge, let go of what you need to let go of. If you need to put it on a USB or a hard drive somewhere, then okay, that could be an alternative. But I do want you to think about how old energy can impact your present and get in the way of your manifestations. Yet again, let me give you another example. As somebody who works on social media, I get a lot of questions from my online followers. And as a former high school teacher, I want to tell you, there's nothing wrong with asking questions. That is part of our learning and part of our growth. But let me tell you where asking questions can get in your way. Oftentimes, I'm faced with the question, Kelly, when will they come back? When will I be happy? When will I find love? There's nothing wrong with asking questions, but the words who, what, when, where, why, and how all indicate doubt. Let me tell you how I learned this. I mentioned to you that I was an English teacher, but I was also a French teacher as well. There was a specific verb tense called the subjunctive, and whenever I would have to teach this to my students, it was one of the most complicated units that you could ever imagine grammatically. There's a reason for this. The subjunctive is used when the statement shows doubt. So for example, if one says, "I'm happy," there's no doubt, right? Okay. But if I say, "Am I happy?" suddenly I have a question mark, there is doubt there, and I need to use the subjunctive. So I started thinking about this in my day-to-day life, and especially the teaching that I do in my spiritual practice. Whenever somebody comes into my live session, or even in a Zoom session where we're talking one-on-one, and I hear, "Kelly, when will I be happy? Will my person come back? Do they love me?" Think about it. These are all doubt. That means if you are in doubt, the topic isn't certain, it's not clear, it's not concise. And therefore, how can you manifest something that you have doubt about? Manifestation is about the belief that you have in yourself. It's about the belief in a situation. It's the assumption of what you're saying is true. So in the context of manifestation, the way we frame our questions can reveal underlying doubts about our abilities. In my previous video about the Fool, I talked about the power of an I am statement. This is profound not just in regards to the Fool, but also in the case of the Magician. What follows I am shapes our reality. If we declare, "I am living my best life," and I do it with conviction, that means it becomes our truth. And if we say, "I am unable to do anything right," well, guess what? That continues to happen, and you'll see it more and more in your day-to-day. This highlights the significance of our belief system. Here's an observation that I've made in working with thousands of clients. Isn't it interesting how love seems to be the last thing that we manifest? More often, we have our work lives in order. Why is that? It's because on the day-to-day, professionally, you believe in yourself. You've been able to put yourself out there, educate yourself, gain experience, you know you're good at what you do, and you believe in yourself. When it comes to love and relationships, oftentimes there's an underlying situation that occurred many years ago, many years before even the relationship that we're discussing in my session, and it's impacted by things that were not addressed at an earlier time. And ultimately, these old stories, these old traumas, triggers, and hurts, they stay, they linger. And this is how we get the tower moments, And I talked about that in the previous video, that when we're not paying attention, when we're going about our day-to-day, we're ignoring things in our life or sweeping things under the rug, oftentimes we get the tower moments that completely shake us up. Now think about this from a work perspective. Many people work to forget what's going on in their personal lives. So if your focus is to work and to excel and to learn more and to do more, likely you're going to manifest more in that department. When you're ignoring your personal life, sweeping under the rug, not feeling confident, not feeling good about yourself and your past, then you manifest more of the same story and then wonder why your love life isn't changing. When I'm in sessions, the most common conversation that I have comes down to, "Kelly, I'm talking to somebody who's emotionally unavailable." If they're emotionally unavailable, chances are, so are you. And I know that's a really hard pill to swallow sometimes because we'd like to think that we're so open. This is what I mean about perceived openness. Also, if you're meeting people who are avoidant, and I know we could talk about avoidant attachment styles or even attachment styles in general, there's a lot to break down there. But from a general standpoint, let's say you're meeting somebody or people who are absolutely avoidant. They may be avoidant, but you may also have tendencies that you don't realize. You may also avoid certain situations. They may not be identical, but there may be avoidance there too. If you meet someone who has difficulty making boundaries, chances are you have those same difficulties. So what does this all mean? The energy that you put out comes back to you. That's why the people that you meet will mirror you. The relationships that you encounter will be there to show you all the things that you need to do in order to change your life. That's why when people are sparked on this twin flame journey, if that's what you'd like to call it, come into your world. It's because they're there to connect with you, identify with you. Oftentimes people will say, "Kelly, this is unlike anything I've ever felt before. I've never felt so understood. It's like we're the same person." Well, initially, that's great. That's what brings the connection. That's what brings the closeness. And it's a beautiful thing. But as time develops and you start to recognize what needs to change or what triggers you, then you start working on yourself and you actually realize that you can't be around somebody who's just like you. Because if you're around somebody who's just like you, it enables nothing to change. And this is what's changed my opinion a little bit on opposites attracting. Sometimes we actually need somebody who's a bit of an opposite to pull us out of our comfort zone, to put us into a new kind of energy where we can grow and we can change. I definitely like that kind of challenge. Let me know in the comments if that's something you've recognized as well, or you would like to have in a relationship. When I'm in my sessions, I often ask people what I call the $1 million question. I'll say, what would you like this person to do right now, today, to change this entire situation? What can they do? The answers that I get are, I would like them to express their feelings. I would like them to communicate better. I would like them to not run away every time things get tough. I would like them to make boundaries with their friends, their families, their exes, whoever. Now think about it. Do you do those same things as well? Are you good with your emotions? Do you express yourself? Do you make boundaries? Do you run from certain situations? And I know that these are kind of triggering statements or questions, but ultimately, what we're meeting in people is what is being reflected within ourselves. That's why as above, so below, right? Internally is experienced externally. All of this is about growth and evolution. We're being triggered to work through the traumas, triggers, and hurts, right? I know it isn't easy, but that's why we have to be clear and concise. We have to just tell people what we want. If they return what we're asking for, great. If they don't, then that tells you a lot about them. It also tells you a lot about you. Ask yourself, what are you willing to accept? What are you not willing to accept? And that's why I'm always telling people, be the fool. Trust, take a leap of faith, put yourself out there. Get to know what you like, what you don't like, grow that thick skin, and get better at making your boundaries and putting yourself first. This is why I want you to be clear. Clear with yourself, clear with the universe. I don't want you sitting on the fence, because if you sit on the fence, not making a decision is making a decision. The moment you decide to throw that leg over the fence, trust, take that leap of faith, and to be clear about your intentions and what you want, you actually start to get the things that you desire. One last thought. If you tell me you're confused, Kelly, I'm confused, I'm confused, I'm confused. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. What do you think you're going to get in return? The universe is going to deliver to you more confusion and more I don't know. I think the issue with being clear and concise is that we're worried about what other people will say. We're worried about being wrong. We're worried about feeling the shame if something doesn't work out. But again, I want to remind you of something that I said in the previous video. Nothing that's meant for you is ever going to pass you by. You're never starting at zero. You're starting with knowledge that you didn't have before. To improve our lives, we must invest the same dedication as we do into our careers. So this is studying, this is learning, and this is persevering. We can enhance self-awareness, establish clear preferences, and develop better boundaries. Over time, this leads us to getting the things that we want. I always say this, ask for what you want or better. When you achieve the better, you will look back and say, how did I ever accept the things that I used to accept? But it takes you putting yourself in the driver's seat, being clear about what you want, pursuing what you want, and believing that you can actually have it. There's so much I want to talk about, and we can't all fit it into one video. I invite you to join me in the next video, because we're going to continue into different stories that I have about manifestation and some tips to help get you the things that you desire. So for this video, please give me a like, a comment, a subscribe. It really helps the algorithm and for people to find my videos. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.